arrogance makes you blind. That gets the ones closest to you dead.
Hi, I'm Stella Chung from IGN, and welcome to Spotlight, the first in the EA series that connects you to the games you love and the people who make them. Leading up to EA Play Live on July 22nd, EA invited me to come chat with the developers who are defining the future of first-person shooters. So, please join me in welcoming Vince Zampella, founder of Respawn and Group General Manager, Chad Grenier, Game Director for Apex Legends, Christian Grass, General Manager of Ripple Effects Studios, and joining us live from DICE headquarters, Oscar Gabrielson, General Manager of DICE. Today we're going to talk about first-person shooters, especially Apex Legends and the recently announced Battlefield 2042. So let's jump in. This is an insane group. So doing some quick calculation, how many years of game dev experience do we have here?
I've got almost 20 years.
For
I
just
spent
you?
all of it with Vince, actually, yeah.
Oh,
Oh no.
I'm sorry.
are those happy years?
It's been a roller coaster.
Okay. And
No,
how
they've
about
been
you?
good.
So I've been with DICE for 20 years as well, but with Vince only for 2 years. So 2 good years though, really good years.
I like that you specified that they're 2 very good years. Oscar, how about you?
I'd say 24 years. Kicked off early with modding community back in the Counter-Strike and Quake days. Since then came into DICE, north of 10 years ago. So it's been a thrilling ride of many different shooters across the years.
And this is the first time you guys are talking?
I think we all individually talk all the time, but just
Okay.
as one group, we haven't all been together like
Oh.
this.
So this is a very powerful group then.
I guess.
It's like
I'm
a
actually very
powerhouse
weak,
of
so.
FPSs. You revealed Battlefield 2042 to the world last month. How does it feel to have the news finally out there?
I think the theory is when you build a game and you're kind of looking forward to announcing it, you're supposed to feel excited and pumped and thrilled and all those kind of positive words.
Yeah.
The honest reality is pure agony the last couple of weeks before you show off a thing. You have teams that spend years and years and years, hundreds and hundreds of game creators creating these games, and then you get this final moment where you get to show the game to the world, and you never know what reactions are going to be, but of course super happy to be able to show the game to the world. It's something we're super pumped about.
So tell us about the game and its trademark game events that are truly next level.
Not many times in your career do you get the chance to go through a console transition. So when we got the chance now to work on a new generation of consoles, it really enabled us to rethink some of the kind of core building blocks of Battlefield, delivering a game at a scale we've never done before. And it comes both on the land masses you play Battlefield on, but also the player counts. Getting the chance to play with 128 players on an army scale kind of warfare setup. We added a lot of really cool gear to the game, things like grappling hooks, wingsuit. And then for some really cool reason, we elected to say, what about a real-time tornado? Real-time tornadoes are cool, right? What about adding one of those to Battlefield? And then what happens if you take that and you combine it with a wingsuit so you can kind of propel yourself to the other side of the map? These tornadoes, they kind of help in kind of grand way when you play. There's been more than a few playtests in which you're in this really intense situation where you're honestly pretty screwed. And then a lovely tornado shows up and just sweeps all the enemies in front of you. You're like, hey, that worked. High five, Mr. Tornado. And I think those kind of really big Levolution moments that we're introducing as part of Battlefield 2042 is what makes the game special. You need to play on your toes every single second because you never know what Mother Nature throws at you.
Can you shoot into and out of the tornado?
Of course you can shoot at a tornado. And that's one good way of understanding that the storm's actually approaching is just kind of looking up at the trees. If they're starting to bend a bit too much, you probably are supposed to start running because you're going to get, swept up by that tornado sooner or later.
Can you tell me how long the team has been working on the game?
Yeah, so this is a 3-year cycle for us, and that really has enabled us to both take a big leap when it comes to tech. So we're running on a completely new version of Frostbite, which has enabled us to push both visual fidelity and core gameplay as a result. And really to kind of hone in on the concept, you've seen us talk about our no-path specialist, our new characters, and we've invested a lot of time and kind of love and passion into the storylines and the worlds and, the war we're portraying. So we're super happy to get the chance to do that.
So DICE and DICE LA have had a long history with Battlefield, but before we talk about the history, DICE LA just rebranded. So can you tell us all about that, Christian?
Yeah, so the studio was formed 8 years ago as a way of expanding the capabilities that DICE had to build Battlefield. We wanted to push this idea that we have in the studio where we really want to drive quality in everything we do as a studio. And in order for us to do that in a really good way, we believe that you need to be good at listening. You need to listen to the people that work in the studio to kind of find these good ideas, these kind of nuggets of good ideas that we then try to turn into something real. And that sort of is ripple effect for us. It's this idea that great things have small beginnings, and that's kind of what a ripple effect is. But we're super excited about the name. We feel like it represents us. It flows well. It's a good name.
So the work that Oscar and Christian have been doing for Battlefield hasn't even been revealed yet. But Christian, I'm hoping that you can maybe give us a little bit of a hint.
So I can't say that much about it. What I can say is this, though, is that one of the components in this experience that we're creating is that we're adding some of the fan favorite maps back into Battlefield 2042. But the entire experience, you have to wait a bit longer before we reveal what that is.
The team at DICE announced Hazard Zone at the reveal, but didn't say much. We know it's being developed at DICE. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, so Battlefield 2042 ships with 3 core multiplayer experiences. We've shown off All Out Warfare. Of course, Christian and his team has something special coming shortly that we'll show at EA Play Live. And our second experience is called Hazard Zone. It's a high-stakes, squad-based game mode with a lot of high tension. It's not your classic Battle Royale. It's a really contemporary mode. It's also something the team has been thinking about for many years. We're really looking forward to showing it to the world. It has some really special components, and it really kind of leans into the superpowers of Battlefield and DICE at the same time. So we'll show more later this fall, just a couple of weeks and months before we launch the game in October.
I know you mentioned your team with Ripple Effect now. So would that kind of be your same answer?
Yeah, of course, Key is a great team. That's how you succeed. The other thing that I really like is, and I think that's something that the Battlefield franchise has done well, is not being afraid of taking risks and not saying no instantly. So if someone comes up with an idea, like having a tornado real time in the game, someone doesn't just say, that's insane, cut. Instead, it's like, yeah, maybe that could work. And that kind of what if question, I think, is super important. So you take some risk, like we introduced Destruction back in Battlefield Bad Company 1 into the game, which wasn't necessarily from a development point of view a sane idea, but it was a cool idea and we wanted it, so we kind of pushed for it, even though it was really difficult to do. But then, like Vince said, you have to balance that with being bold enough to cut things that don't work as well. And that is actually more difficult than it sounds. It's difficult to cut things that you've been working on for a long time. So I think that balance is really important to strike.
Then turning to Oscar, is there anything that you've had to cut from previous games that you've worked on that kind of made you feel a little bit sad?
Oof. I have one that I miss, every single day. We'll hopefully get it back in, some Battlefield version. It's actually something we did back in the Battlefield 4 days called Tablet Commander. So you might remember you could actually join into a 64-player Battlefield session on your tablet, either an Android one or an iOS one. And we even had voice over IP support. So you could kind of call in supplies, do a bunch of things from the iPad. And the reason I remembered so well, it was actually the same year I got my first kid. So I couldn't sit in front of a console or a PC, but what I could do is I could carry my kid on one arm and I could have my iPad on the other arm and I could scream at my squad and give them squad orders. So we just need to get Tablet Commander back, and us not having it in the next couple of games is still really frustrating me. So we have to fix that.
Do you think we can make that happen?
Hopefully at some point it will be back in the game. I don't know though.
Let's do a classic, Christian.
You and I this weekend, Oscar, let's write some code.
Yes.
How hard can it be?
Yeah, I love the Commander feature as well. That's a good call out, Oscar.
What FPS defined you as a developer?
So for me, it's the first FPS game I shipped, which was Battlefield 1942. It took off, became a huge success. So kind of everything there on that journey, building that game and experiencing the launch. It's one of the greatest, I guess, memories I have in my career. So that's the game that defined me.
I just realized you launched with 1942 and now it's 2042. How do you feel about that?
I feel really good about it. So when I love the name, so I think that was a great choice, going back to our roots in a way. So I love that name, and I love it sort of coming together.
What about you, Oscar?
Yeah, I have to go back to my classic Counter-Strike days. I know I spent decades and decades, it feels like, in the game. I still, like on a rainy Sunday, instead of actually playing like proper multiplayer games, I will just join an empty Dust 2 server and I will work on my smoke grenades just to make sure. I don't know why. I haven't given up on that dream of becoming a pro player. It'll never happen, but it's still my go-to game on a rainy Sunday.
Ed, how about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of surrounded by my idols here because I grew up, as far as multiplayer gaming, playing a lot of Battlefield 1942. And then what got me my start in my career is actually playing and modding Medal of Honor Allied Assault, which is a game Vince made. So, and then, that's how I met Vince and got my job and all that and started working on Call of Duty.
How does it feel, like, hearing all this right now?
It feels really good, of course. Yeah, it's great. But I mean, it's like we're all fans of each other's work. I mean, I love playing Allied Assault. Modern Warfare was amazing. I used to play a ton of Counter-Strike as well. I think maybe most of us did. That was a ton of fun.
So when are you and Oscar going to team up for CSGO?
That's a good question. I'm pretty sure Oscar is way better than I am. So
Well,
I don't
maybe
know.
he can
Or maybe
coach
you
you.
can carry me, Oscar.
Yeah.
I think the five of us, on this call, we're all great in theory, at least, and that's a really good start. The question is if we can translate it in a good place, but maybe we can schedule something for this weekend. We just need to finish these games we're working on.
Yeah, I think people assume that we're good at the games we work on.
no,
but
no,
it's,
no, no.
Like, it's this weird thing where you put out a game and instantly you have like an hour window maybe where
Yeah.
you know the tricks better than the players, and then they just surpass you like that now. It's crazy.
Actually, I'm really curious. How many times, like, what is a moment where you've seen a fan post gameplay of something that you never thought was possible in a game?
Every day.
Every day? Is there like a favorite moment?
What was the curved bullet thing in Titanfall?
Curved bullets? I don't remember that one.
Yeah, where they used the warp thing and they would curve bullets and hit people. Yeah.
I'm so glad I wasn't playing against them.
Yeah, anytime we release something new, also, we think it's like really well balanced, and then we release it, and we just like, oh no, people are doing that with it. It's awesome. Love it.
Okay, what about a battlefield moment? Because I know that can get, you're adding a tornado now. So what is one of the wildest battlefield moments that you've ever had?
I remember actually, which was kind of bizarre, we were playing against a bunch of journalists on BF 1942 early on, and they took the B-17 and started wing walking on the B-17. So the entire team flew on the B-17, walking on the wings. That was an amazing moment that we didn't even know that you could do.
Yeah, I think one of the kind of magic pieces when it comes to Battlefield is this notion of like what people can do in a social construct. And many actually of the Easter eggs we produce across the years in Battlefield really are all about players coming together and doing things together to unlock something unexpected or crazy.
Whoa!
So there's some magic sauce there in Battlefield that really works well with the community.
So earlier this year, EA moved Need for Speed to go all in on Battlefield. Can you tell us how that works with a total of 3 studios and EA Gothenburg supporting specifically on Frostbite engine tech?
Yeah, I'd say on a normal year, it would be borderline impossible to pull in that many studios to build a game like this. But I think this COVID environment we've been in means that it's actually easier to scale teams because we're all in the same kind of infrastructure, Zoom meetings, virtual whiteboards, virtual playtests, everything has the word virtual ahead of it. So this is by far the biggest Battlefield team, we've ever had. And that's really enables us now to ship these 3 core, multiplayer experiences as part of the Battlefield 2042 launch. But it's been a grand adventure, a couple of months left, and just kudos to everyone in Gothenburg, Guildford, LA, and of course the team back in Stockholm. Everyone's come together, and it's honestly not only those folks. there's been engineers and artists and audio designers from kind of every single corner of the world across Electronic Arts helping out on this game. And I think you've seen it when you've seen the reveal trailer and the gameplay assets. It's really shining through. So kudos and thanks for all the help.
And actually, I'm very curious, how long does it take to make a map in Battlefield?
Somewhere between 6 and 12 months based on size, complexity, is it a new biome, new gameplay opportunities. It's a bunch of time to pull that off, especially our big player counts. It's just a massive challenge really balancing everything there.
Is there any advice that you'd want to give Christian and his team?
I'll let Chad answer this one.
If I could go back, I think the only advice I'd give myself was to make sure that you've got the pipeline and the tools and the team ready to start creating that content. Because for us, we were all in on launch. We launched the game, and then it's like, oh, this game got popular. We have to do like a season 1. What are we going to put in it? And we had very little content ready to go.
Yeah, the first couple seasons were
Yeah.
a lot of work for the team.
Yeah.
We've slowed it down now and kind of balanced. We want quality of life for the team too, so we kind of always try to ride that line. But the first couple were.
We were also just very used to 2-year-long or more development time and then a big release. And it was the same for the release of Apex. So we had never done, how do you ship something in a month or in 3 months even? And so we just had to completely change the way that we think about development.
So Oscar, I'm curious, after hearing all of these stories, how are you guys preparing for Battlefield 2042's live service?
Of course, we've had the Battlefield 4 live service we did together with Christian and the team over in DICE LA. We had Battlefield 5 just recently. We took Star Wars Battlefront 2 on quite a journey, adding new content and updates, evolving that game a whole lot after launch. So we have a couple of tricks up our sleeve as we get to the live service for Battlefield 2042. And many of those learnings actually came from Apex Legends and all the great work the Respawn team has done with that game.
Yeah, I mean, with this job, you kind of get to learn new things every day. We constantly grow and change and push the boundaries. So it's one of the most exciting things about doing this.
Yeah.
You also feel like when you release a game that you worked on for that long and you're done, my experience, the team kind of feels like they wish they could have done this or that.
Yeah.
It's never quite done, right? It's sort of the artist mentality. So the nice thing with live service, it's like, well, it's not done. You can keep doing, you can keep changing, you can keep polishing or doing whatever you want. So there's a benefit.
You also get that instant kind of gratification. So normally we spend 2 to 3 years before anyone sees what we're doing, whereas in a live service world, we can create something today and then a few weeks later it's in the hands of players. When we were doing the community test environment for BF4, that loop was even shorter. We did something on Monday and it was in the hands of players on Tuesday because it didn't have to be perfect. It was a test environment. And our developers love that instant feedback that you get from something and kind of working that closely with the community. It's very different from the quiet and secretive for 2 years and then we launch it.
Seems like you guys have a lot of fun with it, which is really great. What does the future look like?
Apex versus Battlefield.
Love it.
Deathmatch.
We're going to bring it on. I don't know. I think the best part is we don't really know yet. There's so many things that we haven't even thought about or put thought into yet that it's exciting. And we get new consoles now, so we see the power that we haven't even really started to unlock yet. So that'll get better and better.
It feels like there's so much more we could do and should do on the kind of social side of our games. If you look at a traditional sport, you could you could go outside and just kick a ball or throw a ball, and you can watch it on TV, and you can go to a stadium and watch it, and you can participate in fantasy versions of it, and it becomes more than just that actual game, because I feel like we're only at the beginning of that, where we can turn it into more of a social thing where you hang out in this world, in these worlds that we create, not just to compete, but also just to be there with your friends. I think there's a ton of exciting potential there.
Yeah. Oscar, I'm very curious as to what your answer is.
Cloud computing has really changed a bunch of other industries, and gaming kind of barely touched on it. So if you think about a game like Battlefield, we have things like AI in the game now, destruction, actually procedural level creation. And the next-gen consoles, there are, of course, super powerful. But if we move much of that logic out to the cloud, which is kind of servers in other language, we can do some really high-scale computing that we haven't been able to do in the past. Destruction, visual fidelity. And I think it's just a couple of years away. And then you'll see some pretty cool shooter games out there, I'd imagine. But we'll see. Soon, trademark.
Battlefield 2042 being one of them?
No comments.
Oh, okay. So let's expect from Battlefield 2042 at EA Play Live on July 22nd.
So I think it's that mode that was on a whiteboard for many decades and many years and never kind of happened. And now Christian and his team and LA have been, orchestrating and building it. So Christian?
Yeah, I mean, it's super exciting and of course a bit nerve-wracking, kind of showing something for the first time, but hoping that the players, the community will really embrace and like what we're going to show them on July 22nd.
Yeah.
I think they will, Christian. It's cool.
It's really exciting.
It's cool. It's really cool.
It's the passion from the team comes through, every time they show it off. It's amazing.
Yeah, Christian and his team actually showed Lars, Mr. Battlefield Gustafsson, that experience just a few weeks ago. And Lars, as you might know, has been with the franchise for the 2 decades it existed. I think he was jumping around on the Zoom chair, really, really happy with what we saw. And I think that's a great testament to what to expect at EA Play Live.
So get a sturdy chair ready to watch it.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us here. Thank you for having me. It was so great to hear everyone's experiences, and I'll let you guys get back to your game development. I'm so excited to see what you guys have in store for us. So thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this first Spotlight. More from the EA Play Live Spotlight series coming soon. Follow @EA on Twitter or go to EA.com for the latest updates. Also remember, EA Play Live is July 22nd and you don't want to miss that. I'm Stella Chung from IGN and this was a ton of fun. Thanks everyone for joining and I'll see you on the battlefield.